Hey everyone! So today's vlog is just a little bit different than the normal stuff that I tend to do because today is a Q&A with Elaine. And I met Elaine when she actually messaged me on one of my videos, and I happened to peek at her channel and I loved the way that she spoke and what she was speaking about. And so I kind of just decided that she would be a good person to do a little Q&A with. She has a very great way of speaking and her stuff is very sincere. And so, Elaine, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Elaine and I live in the Pacific Northwest. I've been here just a couple of years. I'm a 65-year-old trans woman and I have I've done so many things, but I'm going to try to tell you about them very, very quickly. First of all, I started transitioning in 1976. Yeah, long time ago. Next, I finished college. I went on to become a public high school teacher for over 20 years. I've also been very successful in sports. My family mostly accepted me, and I am retired now and living in Portland, Oregon. I'm very, very happy to be doing this collaboration with Claire Michelle, and we'll get to her questions right now.
So I posted a question on Reddit asking, what would you like to ask someone who's been transitioning for over 30 years? And I'll post that down below here so you can skim through some of the questions that were asked. But before we get to those questions, Elaine, I want to ask you something that I feel like some of my very close friends would be very appreciative of your advice. And what advice would you give to someone transitioning later in their life?
I've thought about this quite a bit, and the results are not going to, when you transition later in life, it's not going to be the same as if you had done it a lot earlier, like I had, or as a teenager, or as a preteen. It's just going to be different. So if you're in your 50s or 60s, if you're in your late 40s, it's just not going to be the same. And so the advantage you have, though, is that you have more experience in life and in doing things. And so don't look for a lot of physical change. Don't look for a lot of change that way. Instead, try to bring out the person that you want to be and that you feel comfortable as and that you know is within you. Okay, allow that to come out. And that might take some time, and there's always things that you can work on. Of course, it depends on how dedicated you want to be. But I've known doctors who have transitioned late in life in their 60s, and lawyers and other professional people, and they do it to find inner peace for themselves. And so that's what I would suggest to you, is to find that inner peace within yourself.
I think that's great advice, because finding inner peace, finding harmony within yourself is, I think, something that anyone who has transitioned at any age can relate to in a certain way. There's a lot of fear and sometimes even doubt about transitioning, and I can't even imagine what that might be later in life when you've established so much more of your life. But finding that inner peace and that inner harmony within yourself, it's probably one of the most wonderful experiences that I've ever had. And I've spoken a little bit about it before in my past videos about how I was always doubting who I was. And now that those doubts are gone, there's harmony within my life. So Elaine, this next question comes from Reddit user Takaidi, and they ask, what is the single most important piece of advice you could give to a pre-everything transgender person?
There's so many things that I could say to you. It could last for hours and hours and hours, days. I could talk for days. What I would say to you is do a lot of introspective thinking. Do a lot of self-analysis. And is this really what you want to do? Is this what will really make you happy? And you have to understand that you'll have physical changes, but you'll still be carrying around a lot of your own mental issues and things. And so don't think that that's going to be changing, okay? Just try to figure out who you are. And there's a Latin phrase, it's that I made on one of my videos. It's quo vadis. It's where are you going? What is the path that you want to take? Where do you see yourself in the future? And you have to remain optimistic. You have to be determined. You have to be tenacious. You have to be strong. So I would say, keep those things in mind and think about, is this really what you want to do? Because it's a very serious step.
I think you raise a really good point here, because exploring your gender identity is one thing, but exploring your gender identity with the help of hormones is an entirely different thing. Hormones are when permanent changes begin to take place. Now, I'm 2 years into transition, and I have laid down in bed and gone to sleep and even asked myself on many times, is this what I want? And every time the answer is yes. But even at 2 years, I'm still having those very, very minor thoughts. But those thoughts were so much more prevalent when I was just starting hormones. And so if you haven't done that self-reflection, and if you haven't fully discovered who you are and who you want to be and how you see yourself in 50 years, don't rush into it. Take your time with it and find who you are and who you want to be. So this next question comes from Reddit user Waiting for Rain, and they ask, what has been the biggest surprise at 15 years in or 30 years in?
Well, approximately 15 or so years, I had, when I was 28 is when I had my surgery. And so I spent, after that, I was just trying to get my life together as an adult. And what I did is I went back to school. I had stopped going to college, and because I was just having to sort it all out. And I finally went back to college, and I finished. It took a couple years to finish up, and I graduated with honors, and then I entered the College of Education at my university, and I became a public high school teacher. So that's what I did after about 15 years in, was go back to college, get my degree, and start the career that I really wanted to do. After about 30 years, well, actually about 40 years, then I retired. And I've been retired a couple of years now, and I am spending a lot of time in, I made a lot of friends. I miss my friends back in Michigan where I'm from, but I made a lot of friends here in Portland, Oregon, and I'm enjoying the great outdoors and doing different sports and things, and so it's been really good for me. So that's kind of where I am after a long period of time.
Elaine, I love your answer to this question, because at 15 or 30, 40 years in, it doesn't seem like you're transitioning anymore. It just feels like you're living. And I said this in my 2-year vlog. These are more and more common in my own life in the way that I feel like I'm not transitioning anymore. I'm living. I'm just living as me 100% of the time, and this is who I am. And so I really resonate with your answer. 15, 30 years in, they're just life things. You are who you are. You're not transitioning for 15, you're not transitioning for 30 years. You're just living. There was another question posed by a Reddit user, EKV44, and they asked something similar. They said, will you ever reach a point that you stop thinking about your gender identity or your transition or anything? And I think the answer to you is yes. There will be a day. It just takes a little bit of time. The last question comes from Reddit user Acclamy. And they ask, is it hard to date someone? Now, I've done a video on this and I have a lot to say after this, but I want to hear what you have to say first, Elaine.
This is probably the only thing that I have not been successful at. I've been successful in so many other parts of my life, with family and friends and sport and education and career. But this is the hard one because you find people that just do not want to go out with a trans person. They, you know, it's hard enough to date someone even if you're just a regular, everyday person. And dating while trans can be very tough. And I'm older. Maybe it would have been different if I was a lot younger. But dating as an older person, as a senior citizen, it's not easy. So yeah, it's kind of like that. It's rough.
I hear you there. I feel like dating is one of those things where there's no real answer. It's gonna be different for every single person because every single person is unique. I've had people that are open-minded and are willing to see if they could be with a trans person. I've had people totally closed off and deciding that they don't want anything to do with me. I've had rejection and I've had acceptance, and I've had it all. There's not a real answer. And unfortunately, dating is one of those things that it's gonna be hard because everyone is unique. So Elaine, do you have any other closing remarks that you'd like to say?
I wanted to just kind of say to everybody out there that it's a very tough road, but stay strong. You can do it. It's definitely doable. You can be very successful at this if you try, if it's really within you. Okay, and again, I'd like to thank Claire Michelle for having me as a guest. It was great to do this and a lot of fun. So maybe we can do something else in the future as far as collaboration on videos. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Elaine, and I had a lot of fun doing this one with you too. But you're right. If you decide to transition, you have to be headstrong and you have to stand tall because it's not going to get any easier for you. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below and tell me what you thought of this video. Or if you have a topic you'd like me to explore, please leave that down below too and I'll consider it for a video. Alright, I think that's all I got today. Alright, cool. I'd like to thank the Reddit community for asking all those questions. Sorry I couldn't get to them all, but there were some really, really cool questions in there. So if you haven't checked that out, look at that post down below. It's kind of cool. If you haven't checked out my Patreon yet, please consider becoming a patron of this channel. I'd like to thank Danielle Malchevich for her support. She's a longtime viewer of this channel, and I really do just want to say thank you, Danielle. It really means a lot to me, and thank you. And one more thing before I go. I'll be doing Q&A sessions like this more in the future, but maybe more one-on-one with you. So if you follow me on Twitter, you can ask me all sorts of questions, and I'll answer them in video format and all sorts of other stuff. Alright, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much, Elaine, for doing this collaboration with me, and I will see you all next time.